In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, peace be upon you. This is our bookkeeper, Auruz Rajput, and today we are going to discuss in a community as diverse as the minorities living in Pakistan, definitely according to the constitution of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, according to how many people live in Pakistan, they are all called citizens of Pakistan, and all the citizens of Pakistan are authorities hold reserves which the constitution grants them. That means the law will take its course whether they've done something wrong or not. If anything wrong has happened to them, the justice that needs to be provided to them will be according to Pakistani law. In the same way, the Constitution grants us our fundamental rights. They apply to all our minorities. They are for them as well because they all are citizens of Pakistan. They retain all their fundamental rights, which we are going to discuss today on the act we have previously talked about. The discussion was about the Christian Marriage and Divorce Act. Today we will talk about there's another community within Pakistan, the Parsis, who are also our minorities. Let me tell you about the Parsi people. They are also called Zoroastrians and is assisted by Rashi as of and their religion began in the 6th to 7th century. Basically, what their core is, they worship Ahura Mazda. Previously, they worshipped the sun, then turned to Ahura Mazda regarding their main board. The main god is Ahura Mazda. So Ahura Mazda is basically a symbol in Zoroastrianism. It has no physical appearance, but is a symbol of justice, strength, order, and purity. The belief of the Parsis is besides their temples are referred to as shrines, and when it comes to their marriage ceremonies, they are called blessings, and blessings are mandatory for their religion or for one's own marriage, meaning their wedding cannot happen without blessings, meaning it becomes invalid, not a valid wedding. So here I've described to you a little about Faravahar. It's a symbol for them that includes one, what it is made of a man and has wings and is on the sun. Sitting there, this method is a symbol, and that symbol, the symbol of the Parsis, also known as Zoroastrians. You can learn about this religion if anyone can research if they have a friend or wish to and we can learn more about their religion. We're talking about the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act of 1936 briefly. In the bio, I explained who Parsis are. Now here we will talk about the act which is important for us, the Marriage and Divorce Act. As you might have guessed from the name, discussions continue on marriage and divorces, which is the main objecting point. The protection of rights in making laws. Laws are made to protect people's rights, which is a process explained in these laws. Which way will someone proceed? The Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act of 1936 explains how Parsi people will be married, how their awards will be, and the main thing which is most significant, the object of the act is the registration of marriage process. It means that if during a Parsi marriage a male and a female are involved, then where will their marriage be registered? How? Let's first discuss child marriage, which is important. How is a Parsi wedding conducted? Firstly, I will tell you what is applicable throughout Pakistan. Anywhere in Pakistan, if Parsis are living and wish to marry or seek a divorce, they yourselves, they will do so under this act. Now, if we're talking about court marriage, in court marriage, the first and foremost requirement is that both parties must be Parsi, meaning both male and female should be Parsi. Marriage, according to the Parsi community's customs, religion, law, it happens according to the rules. And those who get married
clothes?
It is said where categories exist, as I told you, also called mobaid. So whether it's mobaid or priest, when they conduct marriages, there's always a set time. The presence of the priest is very important. Without the blessings, what we have is not a marriage. It's referred to as the Shamri ceremony. It's very important. Without it, the marriage doesn't happen. It gets voided, nullified. Having two witnesses is crucial at the marriage ceremony when the presence is of utmost importance. Also, the Parsi for Parsi male and Parsi female getting married, having two credible witnesses is very important. Other than the priest, the priest will be there, but there will also be two credible witnesses present at the wedding to testify that the marriage took place before them. After that, we talk about what happens in court marriage in terms of age in miles. According to the act mentioned, it is stated as 21 years, meaning a boy of the age of 21 years, if he marries, then according to this act, that marriage won't be valid. That is, the age of the boy should be at least 21 years old and the girl's age should be no less than 18 years. Then there's mention of free consent. See, marriage is a social agreement. So in this agreement, as for all your essentials of agreement, if you read the Contract Act, you only realize when you don't have the essential grounds. It's like an adrift. Adam Johewski. There will be no strength in it. So all those things, because it's a social agreement, there's also mention of free consent, seeing as how both parties, you see, when marriage happens, when two people get married, so their free consent is very important. It's not like you can just force or fraudulently take consent, so that marriage is not considered a marriage in the same way Muslims have. If a girl is forced and married off against her will, then that marriage is not considered valid. It's not valid if a man is forced or blackmailed into marriage. Just the same way, for marriage, it is necessary. It is fundamentally accepted from the heart that a man considers a woman as his wife and a woman her husband. They consider each other as husband. In this way, it is very important to have free consent. Now, here comes the point about you. In the Parsi religion, it is also the case that if there is a wife to a husband, she cannot marry another. If he marries again, that marriage will become null and void. The wedding won't be valid. Sinai. Similarly, if the wife already has a husband at the time of marriage, this means that for the marriage of two people, it is essential under the Parsi Marriage Act that both what is already intact in a marriage, meaning the woman who is getting married does not have a husband and the person marrying should not have a spouse already. If it comes to light that there is a spouse or husband, at the time of marriage, said marriage will be null and void. Okay, here family concern is very important. It's a matter of concern for the Parsi male and female getting married to each other. But now the family concern is also very important, that both families are also concerned. It's very important, meaning that permission is also required for the marriage. For it to be a valid marriage, the grounds are these. What is called an unlawful marriage? Under the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act, we understand that an unlawful marriage occurs if a husband is the wife ready or is a wife's husband ready. And there they both remarry. The wife marries elsewhere, the husband marries elsewhere. If they are still married, their marriage will be null and void, considered an unlawful marriage. I say, as it is, talking about punishment, if a husband marries another while having a wife, or from the wife's perspective, if she marries another while having a husband, decking the worship. So here, what is a punishment? And here, this marriage will also get void, and the actions taken against them, it will fall under section 494 and 490. Pakistan Penal Code, that is to say, under the PPC, the case will proceed against them. The punishment will also be applied under sections 494 and 495 of the PPC, and they will be sentenced accordingly. If they declare the marriage, then there is a connection that falls within degrees. Like I told you, a relationship that falls within limited degrees is that of a sister, stepsister, brother, stepbrother, mother, or stepmother. She is the daughter of a daughter, the son's daughter, your brother's daughter. She is a niece, granddaughter, grandson, and daughter of a son. In this way, the relations fall under the prohibited degree. And with those relations, marriage is not allowed according to the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act.
Moreover, if it is found out
Regarding the male, at the time of marriage, he was a lunatic, he was an idiot, and the wife did not find out at the time but finds out later. It's a 2-year period. Within this 2-year period, what happens is crucial regarding the spouse. Suit for dissolution can be applied for. This means she can apply for a divorce. The jurisdiction will be a civil court, that is, there will be a petition filed known as a divorce petition or dissolution of marriage petition. The petition will also go to the sublime court, meaning under the law of the Parsis, the minorities in Pakistan. These are family matters known as matrimonial codes, and these matrimonial codes, the jurisdiction that belongs to appellate courts is with appellate courts, meaning these cases are in the family court. And this suit, this petition will not go. It will go to the sublime court, and as a petition, this is the suit in the sublime court. How it will be filed. For this purpose, and they say what we refer to as courts are matrimonial courts, civil matrimonial courts, where civil judges have the authority to deal with these matters. Besides this, we talk about registration. Marriage is followed by, obviously, the main purpose of law, which is to protect rights. Along with the process is registration, because to get the marriage registered, there's a process for it. The registration will be under the law that exists. So in this registration, when you do the registration of marriage, you get a marriage certificate. This marriage certificate needs to be filled out. In this marriage certificate, both bride and groom have names, their parents have names, everyone has their CNIs. The number of people depending on the man, how many rely on the bride. This involves writing down the family members' numbers and also the ages. Is that a video? Whether the lady, male or female, getting married, it's asked whether they are divorced, either they are widowed or single. This information is collected because there isn't already a living wife. If there is a living wife or living husband, then the marriage will be considered null and void. These words won't be discussed at the time of marriage. It's unknown. He, a Parsi male, married her. It was his second marriage. But it turns out sometime after marriage that my husband is already married. So when
he will file the suit,
she will file a petition in civil court for divorce. Let me tell you, divorce here, passing decree isn't straightforward. Divorce is a separate matter. Discussing nullity means it's void. If it was already intact at the wedding, someone else already was his wife, this marriage will be annulled. It will be declared void. It will be ended, meaning the marriage he had at that time was not valid. In a way, if there is a wife and she goes on to marry her supposed husband, if he then seeks a divorce, this will be null and void and the marriage will end. So, we were talking about when the registration process takes place, the process of registration. For these two, after providing all the information in the form we fill out, age and everything else follows. Afterwards, you'll see the drop down below on this form. A certificate such as a marriage certificate has signatures on it. Milk. Similarly, marriage certificates have signatures from witnesses, both the bride and the groom, just like on a marriage contract. Signatures are required from both the Parsi male and Parsi female, that is, both the bride and groom, along with witnesses' signatures. The third is when you go for the registration process, there are priest signatures. And when you go for the registration process, that registration, when marriage is registered, at that time the signatures of the registrar are required. When you go for registration, both parties sign, the priest signs, meaning credible witnesses are present at the time. I am talking about registration, so the registration process happens in this way. Who are good registrars, they register. The chief justices are those who are Chief Justice and video. They point out within the local limit of jurisdiction where their jurisdiction applies. A registrar is appointed by the Chief Justice of the High Court. Okay? We talked about marriage registration. Now look, there is this thing if there is a divorce. So, what are the points on which a divorce could be based? One of them could be mutual consent.
Conjugal rights.
Go for if wife is not fulfilling her husband's rights or is not with her husband.
Wives, what is hers, of what grade?
If he is not giving her the rights, not fulfilling his duties as a husband, then on this basis, divorce can be filed.
To file for another divorce.
The second point is about add to time. The lady did not know that he was already married. I think a wife can get a divorce. Third, if the husband is imprisoned for 7 years, she can still file for divorces. She wants to take the divorce if her spouse has been sentenced to 7 years or more. She will live her life her way. Now she can take the divorce.
Address if a wife
becomes pregnant by someone else who is not her husband. On this basis, a divorce can also be taken. If at the time of marriage his wife was pregnant with someone else's child and he didn't know but finds out later, then he can also get the divorce. But look at what the time period is. If the wife finds out that her husband was a lunatic at the time of marriage and he still is a lunatic, she might think he's an idiot. Then they can also take a divorce if it has been more than 2 years. Then if a suit pile isn't forming, then what we have is within 2 years. For applying and receiving dowries, all these things are necessary. So one special thing about the Parsi Marriage Act is the court involved. When she passes the decree, whether it is a divorce decree, dissolution, or annulment, she sends the copy for the registration process to a registrar. The marriage registrar of the jurisdiction forwards a copy to their own office once the forwarding is done. Look at the entry book of the walls near them. Death. Property division, all these registers are maintained with them. You can call them marriage books or marriage registers. You can also call it a reverse book or reverse register. So all these registers are with those people. They are present and in it. What is with all this information? What happens here is that if anyone sees an act of any other minorities being dismissed in any act, it's not said there about the decree happening. The deed that is sent, its copy is registered with the registrar, and there he enters the Edwards entries and keeps the book kept there. The biggest thing is that they are sealed. Yes, the decrees related to the dissolution of marriage that are sent by the court are sealed and are dispatched only after being sealed, meaning that what you are understanding a process where the court exercises great caution in distributing awards. It seals the decree of awards and sends a copy to the registrar, which is crucial for him to be included in this matter. Anyone like that? You must not show leniency, meaning it is absolutely necessary to register it in any case. Now, here we talked about the registration process, we talked about sale. It's a very important thing in this act. Let me tell you, what are the delicacies? A special code is created for a Parsi when a Parsi suit comes up. When a petition is filed, because the civil procedure code is being applied, so when a petition is filed, when a suit is filed, a suit for dissolution occurs then. If a file is made, a special court is constituted. What happens in this special court? Delegates are appointed. For your query, decisions will ultimately be made by the judge, but as for the delegates involved, they give their opinion, and all the delegates, they are appointed for about 10 years. The government appoints them. I arrived. Delegates are appointed for 10 years, and their names also appear in the official gazette. If we talk about the High Court, there should not be more than 30 delegates. However, if we talk about district courts, no more than 20 delegates should be appointed. There, they share their opinions. Will definitely be
These are those who exhibit their religion.
Those who have a lot of information about their law. Ezra delegates are appointed, and each delegate serves for 10 years. Is appointed. Continue ahead. Get started. In the verse 50, I am answered if there is no 7 for up to 7 years. That is also a divorce. It was discovered at the time of marriage that the person was insane. That is also grounds for divorce. Someone important was there, and the woman obviously didn't know at the time of marriage that her husband was important. It is realized after marriage that her husband is important, meaning if he is impotent, she can still go to court to dissolve the marriage. Along with if its subordinate has committed adultery, rape, or sodomy, even on this basis, the wife can get divorced from the husband. And so on. If ever the husband commits violence, treats his wife cruelly, causes grave harm, and harasses her, you also get divorced. In the jurisdiction I told you about, there are matrimonial courts, civil courts, they will be called special courts, and now here a penalty has also been imposed. See, if a false statement is given in a certificate, whether it is not attested or the signatures are wrong, then what will happen there is that you will be given 3 months imprisonment with fine for anyone not performing their work in the best way. He has a sentence of 3 months with a fine or coffin. And if forgery is proven in the documents, they are forged documents, false documents, then what will happen?
That they punish him.
What will be done in this section in Pakistan?
The section of the Fine Penal Court,
Under
the proceedings will
surgery.
be against the person who committed the forgery. We have also talked about jurisdiction and discussed divorce as well. I told you the procedure for courts, that the decree is sealed and sent to the registrar. Good conjugal rights are in both male and female.
Anyone can file.
A case of marital reality can be filed by either has a Parsi male filed it or a Parsi female. They don't complain for a year. And for example, when the wife passes a decree in her favor, her husband is told about conjugal rights. Whatever it is, do it yourself. Or if the party has filed the case, tell his wife to go and reconcile with her husband. And if they do this, and for 1 year after passing the goat, if they do not exercise conjugal rights, then on this basis, what can be done? Walls will be made. If a Parsi husband and wife have been living separately for 3 years, that is also a point for obtaining a divorce. Either the husband files either a petition will be filed or a wife will file. Judicial separation can also be sought if either party changes their religion, whether the husband converts or the wife does. In such cases as well, it will become widow. Additionally, you can also obtain a judicial separation by mutual consent if both parties agree to go to court. saying that there is taking the words by mutual consent. As I explained here, in a case of adultery, can you appoint the respondent who was involved in the adultery or the rape? Here it is mentioned that if a husband commits adultery while he has a wife, then there too it is, if you make the other party a party, they will be named as a co-defendant, and in the suit you are filing, you will name that party as a co-defendant. These can also be brought if the age of the male is under 16 years and the age of the female is under 14 years. You can't file a suit anywhere, meaning a Parsi male which is less than 16 years old. If a male or a Parsi female is under 14 years old, their marriage would be considered a minor marriage. You can't just take your suit and file any dissolution of marriage suit under this one. They don't have it. Any books will be found. It's like
Besides the codes,
she keeps ready to modify the goat as well, can provide alum if she thinks it's necessary for the wife. I study. If there is an order for maintenance and the husband is not providing maintenance, a Parsi male who is a Parsi husband can allow what we call alimony to his Parsi wife. He's got a sign. Even if the order exists and maintenance is not provided, what can the court do? It can also be modified, changes can be made to it, adding more strictness to it. And the lady, for her and her children and for her wife, needs maintenance. One can order for maintenance according to their needs. Depending on his job, if he is a laborer, then accordingly, if he is a businessman, then accordingly the court provides maintenance. She can allow what is known as alimony. Additionally, we will discuss permanent alimony as we did in Christianity that a wife can receive from court. Through her lifetime, it is mentioned here as well about the permanent alimony, that a Parsi female will receive permanent alimony. She can claim them if she proves that it has no connection with adultery. If she performs adultery, then permanent, not acceptable even for a temporary element. Talking about the custody of children, the maintenance of the children, this is an interim order. She can cut the coat just like an interim order is placed here. Our family does it in the way it's done in courts. So this was our Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act, which we understood well. We comprehended the marriage. We grasped the registration process. We explained to partners how divorces happen. Which courts are these? How does the procedure apply? In what manner? CPC's procedure will apply here, not the family court's procedure. It will be a custody case. Maintenance will be granted, meaning alimony will also be provided. Let me clarify that about child support. That does not happen, happen among Christians or Parsis or in other minority communities we have. The counting period only occurs among Muslims. The dowry too is something that exists among Muslims. Decorative articles, if they wish to give, are called gifts. If Persian, the Parsi family getting married can speak to the Parsi council regarding the Parsi laws. They can act with Asian, give a church to female. There can be an exchange conversation with parents from the homes, so the thing about the top. If she has taken some items with her, this matter has been covered in dowry articles. Dowry articles will be understood as those items that were given as gifts. Basically, the articles or the dowry amounts originate from Islamic laws for the security of Muslim women. So here, this number won't be read if they get divorced. Whether it's a Parsi male or female, they can remarry. They can remarry after their divorce. If their husband or wife dies, they can remarry, and there is no described waiting period after the divorce is granted. Thank you so much. This was because you must have understood. If there is any question, you can ask me. Thank you very much. Goodbye.